It was supposed to be a simple Saturday. Balloons, cake, screaming kids, plastic cups with superheroes on them, the usual chaos of my son Ethan's 8th birthday. My wife Sarah ran around the living room, taping paper streamers to the ceiling, while I blew up balloons until my lungs hurt. We'd invited a few families from the neighborhood. Suburban comfort, clean lawns, quiet streets, everyone pretending to have their lives together. Nothing ever really happened here. At least, not until the clown showed up. I remember the moment clearly, 2:47 p.m. The doorbell rang. I was carrying a tray of mini pizzas, greasy and hot. I opened the door expecting one of Ethan's classmates. Instead, there he stood. Tall, lanky, a clown, but not the kind that made you laugh. His costume wasn't bright red or cheerful. It was faded, ivory white with dull crimson seams, old fabric with stains that didn't look like stage paint. A ruffled collar hung unevenly, the edges frayed like it had been dragged through dirt. His makeup was cracked too, pale white, uneven, black paint smeared around his eyes like bruises. His lips were painted wide, but the red curved too far, stretching almost to his jawline, jagged as if drawn with shaking hands. He didn't speak, just tilted his head slightly to the side. In his left hand, he held a bundle of long, thin balloons, yellow, blue, red, twisted together like veins. I started, confused. Hey, I think you've got the wrong house. Behind me, Sarah peeked out. Oh, the clown's here early. That's great. I turned, surprised. You booked a clown? She frowned. I thought you did. The man just stared. Before I could say anything else, he stepped inside. Kids gathered around instantly. Ethan was jumping, clapping, excited. A clown! A clown! I forced a smile, uneasy. Guess we're doing this. The clown didn't introduce himself. He just stood there a moment, letting the silence stretch too long. Then, pop! He twisted one of the balloons, fast, his hands moving with strange precision. The squeaking of rubber echoed through the room. He made shapes, but not normal balloon animals. The figures were wrong, too long in the limbs, twisted at strange angles. One had what looked like hands. Another had a head that slumped sideways. The kids stared. One giggled nervously. "Is that a person?" the little girl whispered. The clown froze, then turned toward her, slowly, deliberately. His smile seemed to widen. No one laughed. He placed the balloon figure on the floor. For a moment, it looked like it moved, just a tiny twitch, like the latex flexed on its own. Sarah whispered, "Did you see that?" I wanted to say no. After the first few tricks, people went back to eating, talking, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I went into the kitchen to grab more soda. When I looked back through the doorway, the clown was standing perfectly still, facing the kids, not moving at all, while the children stared up at him confused. Then, one of the balloons on the floor began to crawl. Just a few inches. It dragged itself by one end, like something inside was pressing outward. The clown turned his head, slow and mechanical, and met my eyes from across the room. His makeup cracked at the corner of his mouth as he smiled, a long, silent smile. I blinked, and the balloon stopped moving. When I looked again, it was just lying there. Later that afternoon, while Sarah served cake, I noticed something. The clown was gone. "Where'd he go?" I asked. One of the kids shrugged. He went downstairs. Downstairs. The basement. No one ever used it. Just boxes, old furniture, a broken washing machine. I walked to the basement door. It was slightly open, dark beyond the crack. The smell of old concrete and dust seeped up. I called out, "Hey, clown, the show's upstairs." No answer. I took a step down, the wooden stairs creaking. The air felt colder, heavy. I flicked the light switch. Nothing. Halfway down, I heard balloons squeaking, slow twists, like hands shaping something in the dark. Then a voice, soft, like a whisper just behind me. I spun around, no one there. The sound stopped. When I climbed back upstairs, my hands were shaking. The laughter was gone. The kids looked uneasy now. Sarah was trying to keep them entertained, but one mother was panicking. "Has anyone seen Lucas?" Her son, a small boy in a blue sweater, was missing. We searched the rooms, the backyard. Nothing. Then I noticed the door to the basement again. It was open wider now. On the top step sat a balloon figure, shaped almost exactly like a child. Blue balloon twisted around its chest like a sweater. My stomach turned. "Sarah," I whispered, "take everyone outside." The parents didn't ask questions. They grabbed their kids and left. Sarah protested, but the look on my face must have said enough. The house emptied in seconds. The moment the front door closed, the house went silent. I looked toward the basement. The balloon figure was gone. He appeared again just before sunset, standing at the foot of the stairs, half lit by the fading light from the window. His face was smeared, like the makeup had melted. "Where's the boy?" I demanded. He tilted his head, then reached into his pocket, pulled out a single blue balloon, inflated it, slowly, never breaking eye contact. When it was full, he tied it off, then whispered something into it, a wet, whispering sound I couldn't understand. He released it. The balloon floated across the room, drifting toward me. When it touched my hand, it popped. Inside wasn't air. A small clump of blonde hair fell to the floor. The sun had dipped below the rooftops, leaving the street bathed in that blue suburban twilight, too quiet, too still. I locked the front door and checked every room again. No clown, no boy. Sarah called the police, but they wouldn't be here for 20 minutes. I could barely breathe. I stood in the living room, staring at the remains of the party, spilled juice, tipped over chairs, the half-eaten cake with candles still smoldering. And then, the soft squeak of rubber. It came from the hallway. When I turned, every balloon in the house, every one of them, had drifted toward the same place, the basement door. They floated in a slow circle around it, like orbiting something unseen. One by one, they began to pop. 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 Each sound echoed louder than the last, until only a single balloon was left, a red one. It hovered by the door, perfectly still. I stepped closer. The air smelled like dust and iron. The red balloon moved, not drifting, but pulling itself toward the crack of the basement door. As it touched the wood, it pressed flat, sliding through the gap like something alive. I followed. The stairs groaned as I went down, flashlight trembling in my hand. The basement was cold, the kind of cold that felt wet. My breath fogged. The light swept across boxes, shelves, the old washing machine, and then stopped. The clown was there, crouched on the floor. He wasn't making balloons anymore. He was arranging them. Hundreds of them, twisted, deflated, stretched. They formed shapes, faces, bodies. And in the center, something that looked almost human. It was made of balloons, yes, but underneath the latex, something moved. Flesh pushing against rubber like the skin of something trapped inside. I whispered, "Where's Lucas?" The clown turned his head toward me. His jaw cracked audibly. Then he smiled. "You invited me?" he said, voice soft and childlike. "You just forgot." Before I could react, the balloon figure in the center of the floor sat up. Its head rolled to one side. From inside the latex came a faint sound. "Help me." Lucas's voice. I rushed forward, trying to tear it open, but the clown's hand clamped down on my shoulder. It was cold and hard as bone. He whispered, "Don't ruin the gift." Then everything went dark. I woke to the sound of sirens outside. My head ached. The basement lights were on again, but there was no clown, no balloons. Just me, lying on the floor, surrounded by the faint smell of rubber and something sweet, like candy. When I climbed upstairs, Sarah and the officers were already inside. She ran to me, shaking. "Where were you? They found him." "Found who?" I asked. "Lucas," she said. "He was in the backyard, crying. He doesn't remember anything." I blinked. "What about the clown?" The officer frowned. "There's no clown. No one saw a performer arrive or leave. Your guest said you hired him." My throat felt dry. "No," I whispered. "I didn't." He looked at me for a long moment, then shrugged. "Maybe some prank. But if you see him again, call us." Days passed. We tried to pretend it was over. But Ethan wouldn't go near the basement anymore. He said the clown still lived down there. When I asked what he meant, he just pointed at the vent, the narrow one near the floor, and said, "He whispers at night." I laughed it off, until the third night. That's when I heard it too. The faint squeak of balloons rubbing together, coming from the vents. I opened the basement door again. The smell hit me instantly, the same sweet plastic scent. The light flickered once, twice, then went out. In the dark, I heard a small child's giggle. Then the whisper came, soft, right behind me. "Another party soon." 3 months later, a flyer appeared in our mailbox. A smiling cartoon clown, bright colors, confetti. Balloons and smiles, children's party entertainment, making birthdays unforgettable. Call. No number. I turned the page over. Blank. But at the bottom corner, printed so faintly it almost vanished, were 3 red fingerprints and the words, "Thank you for having me." That night, when I checked on Ethan, there was a single balloon tied to his bedpost. Red. I went to untie it, but when I touched the knot, I felt something inside. A pulse. Slow. Beating. And from the other end of the string, in the dark corner of the room, a quiet giggle answered.